please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic?
Captain's Log, Subdates 231130.5. The month of Vlogmas, or Merry Meggy Moistmas, is upon us, folks. This is it. 2 videos every single day, and as a reward, you all get to not only enjoy my content, but you get to fist box urethra, which is a win, right? Welcome everyone to the exhibition of stupid people. Hope you're all well today. We're going to start with the UK Brit Awards. The UK Brit Awards are a joke, and on this channel, I have spoken about them being a joke because they got rid of the men and women categories for individual artist awards, and the first winner was Adele, who said, and she won, "I'm proud to be a woman." This year it wasn't so good because when they replaced the best male and female category, the shortlist for best artist prize had no women in it. Harry Styles won the award and then dedicated it to other artists like Charlie XCX. The Brit Awards, to counter this, to create a more balanced field, decided rather than doing the right thing and bringing back the male and female categories, to simply expand the number of nominees from 5 to 10, because that's what you need, 9 losers. I assume what we're going to do now is have 5 guaranteed men and 5 guaranteed women, or 1 man, 1 woman, and 8 on every other type of gender you can think of. But then you'll have to expand it further to include all other expressions and identities. You realise what you've done here? Just bring back the men and women categories. Although, saying that, it should be pointed out that for the sake of what awards are, they are redundant. You don't need an award ceremony anymore to be told you're doing a good job. All you have to do is look at your Spotify numbers, because sales for records are going down. The only real way to know you're doing a good job is when you tour and put on a live show. The Brit Awards have also made another change. In the past, pop and R&B was one category. Now, R&B will be separated from that. To be honest, pop music encompasses many different genres. If you're going to create one for R&B, you may as well create one for other genres of music as well. R&B is also quite pop. It really is. It's called pop for a reason. In fact, it's short for something else. Only I knew what it was, but I was never popular enough. Still, it can be regarded as a big deal, but the point should remain. Award ceremonies are kind of on the downward turn. This applies to many different types of awards ceremonies for many different industries where award ceremonies are a thing. It was quite popular in the past, but now with social media, we don't need to have you be validated for doing a good job. Your validation comes from when you go on tour. Your validation comes from when you get a plaque saying you've sold so many albums. To be told you're the best? I'll be honest, no, because that's also quite subjective and also an indicator of pop music. Am I right? So next, Sony recently, as part of a class action lawsuit, have been accused of abusing the PlayStation game's loyalty by overcharging for digital items in the PlayStation Store, which in a UK tribunal has been ruled to be allowed to move ahead. The Japanese gaming behemoth tried to dismiss the legal case. The consumer rights campaigner Alex Neil sued Sony last year on behalf of nearly 9 million people across the UK who have bought games or add-on content through the store, which is pre-installed on all consoles. The mass lawsuit is seeking £6.3 billion over claims the PlayStation maker abused its position to set unfair prices for players. If Alex wins, anyone who made a purchase from the store between August the 19th, 2016 and August the 19th, 2022 could be awarded a payment between £67 and £562 plus interest. This timescale would bridge both PS4 and PS5 console generations. I bought something off that store back then. Ooh, I might get £67 that'll pay for my new dental bill I've got. Oh yay! I do want to add something quite interesting really. Class action lawsuits aren't quite common in the United Kingdom. They're very well known and renowned in the US, where you are basically bitch made. Say something wrong, I'm gonna sue you. A blade of grass hits you, I'm going to sue that lawn. The conditions of the dates, 2016 to 2022, were agreed upon by the tribunal. So anyone who's after August 2022, yeah, no, you're not a part of this. Alex Neil has said, this is the first step in ensuring consumers get back what they're owed as a result of Sony breaking the law. PlayStation gamers' loyalty has been taken advantage of by Sony, who have been charging them excessive prices for years. It is significant, that the competition court has recognized Sony must explain its actions by ordering them to trial. With this action, we are seeking to put a stop to this unlawful conduct and ensure customers are compensated. PlayStation Store works in the same way as other closed-loop systems, like Nintendo Switches, Nintendo Store and Xboxes. I'm not a big fan of Nintendo's personally. I find they overcharge on everything. You'll rarely get a sale that is an actual sale. I'd rather own a physical copy as well. That's a personal preference, actually. I wanted to include this because I want to see how this turns out, so this is me laying a foundation for what will inevitably be a future video. And also on the face of it, it's quite dumb that PlayStation are finally getting called out for this shit. If you are someone with a PlayStation, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They've been doing this crap for too long. So have Nintendo for that matter. The next subject I want to talk about might get me accused of being right-wing. I'm not. Stop it. Stop being so bloody stupid, alright? Parents of a non-binary 17-year-old failed a recent bid to prevent their 17-year-old from having breast removal surgery after they were accused of believing that LGBTQ+ people were evil and satanic. Now, I do not believe children at that age can make such a decision about their bodies. I really don't. You're 17. I don't think you should have this kind of choice until your body is fully developed and you are a fully developed adult. This particular child claimed that they were, at the age of 11, a lesbian and non-binary. I think this is a massive failing on every system known to exist, because we have things that you can't do until you're at least 18 and 21. But somehow a child can make, and 17-year-old is still a child. Let's not try and say, oh, but they're an adult because they were 16 over. Shut up. They're not even a fully developed adult at that point. Don't try me. Parents failed to stop this from happening. The child can get a mastectomy. And I think this is very dangerous. But what didn't help were the parents who instead decided to go for a psychiatric report claiming the child's sexual preferences were symptoms of a mental illness. Sexual preferences are very complicated as a subject matter. At the age of 11, that gets worrisome. At the age of 17, one explores their identity. But to make permanent changes to your body, I do not believe you should be able to do. Don't forget here, there are women in this country who can't get a hysterectomy in their early 20s because they might want to have children later in life. I know people who are in their late 30s who can't get it because they might want to have more children, but apparently a 17-year-old can choose to have a mastectomy. I know they're not the same type of surgery, but as far as I'm concerned, this falls in the ballpark of you don't really understand what you're doing, and you cannot tell me you do understand what you're doing because you're about to go and cross a line that cannot be come back from. That doesn't make sense. You cannot return from. The judge also ruled that it would be wholly disproportionate to permit an expert to examine the teenager. Now that's also quite interesting because in this country, we have made it harder for people to identify themselves as trans unless they go through certain hurdles which are quite intrusive. Whereas some would rather it simply be a case that you say, you're trans, okay, you're trans. That should not be how it is done at all. Gender affirmation is very important, of course, dysphoria especially so. So why is it okay for a surgery like that, but not in other areas? The teenager said in the court, I was being emotionally abused by my parents constantly because they would almost make comments to me about how identifying as transgender means I am mentally ill, and they would constantly make homophobic, transphobic comments towards me and say things such as the reason LGBTQ+ is normally in the UK is because they are trying to reduce the population. I mean, on the face of it, that is quite amusing, the last part. The first, though, mental illness. That isn't wholly inaccurate, though. The parents here have not helped the situation in the slightest. Nurturing and supporting their child would have been ideal to help them not only understand, help themselves understand, and work together to help that child as they become an adult, they're still not one yet, and then make a decision when they get there, instead of using the path they used, trod, walked, which in turn pushed their child further away and has led to them losing in a court, and their child by extension losing a part of their physical anatomy. That child should be subject to many different examinations at gender clinics, 100%, because everything has to be certain before you proceed with such a surgery. Further proof the United Kingdom is one massive fail in one article. On the screen now you're seeing a video. I'm going to play some of the audio in a second. It was tweeted out by a number of people who had titled their tweets with "Materialism is a trap." In the video, an individual receiving gifts, I assume a birthday, is getting some swag from one of their favourite artists, or off their favourite artist's store or line or clothing, whatever. The reaction is quite comical, and I thought I'd just share it as a segue before we go to something else.
Go down. It's gonna be okay. It's still with you. Oh, somebody's getting out of these fields, bro. Keep out strip. Y'all call 911 right now. Okay, sis, you gonna be alright? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, don't fall.
So next, I have made a video talking about, well, short actually on this channel, how veganism and sales of vegan products is diminishing in the United Kingdom. Like any market, there is an ebb and flow. It's quite normal, no shots taken. If you thought there was one, shut up. The University of Warwickshire have voted for union-run catering outlets to go vegan. 3 establishments at the university are now required to adopt fully plant-based menus by 2027. The student union in question is the 8th in the UK to vote through a motion to ditch meat and dairy. The society president, Vivek Venkatram, said he was excited to work with catering teams on affordable, nutritious and delicious options. Best of luck to you on that. A total of 1,472 students voted in the motion, titled Plant-Based Warwick to Tackle the Climate Crisis for a Just Transition, voting 52% for the change. It is a big backing, I will admit, but with 1,400 voting in it, the voter turnout is trash, because as of 2021, there are nearly 30,000 students at that university. Not even a joke. But vote is a vote, and we acknowledge it. Thus is written, thus is law. The union now adopts a 50% plant-based catering by the next academic year. Stirling University Students' Union was the first in the UK to ban meat and dairy last November. They believe young people are taking responsibility through their food choices, and that it is a movement that is gathering fast pace across the education sector. I believe the student union has, over many years of its existence, gone way beyond what their power should be to exert itself in what can be seen as the most influential, but in reality a bit pointless. Not many students actually eat on campus. Just to be clear here, you'll go for a drink if it's an option, but if you get food on campus it's quite pricey. Most people will just go to the supermarket and buy the food and bring it back to their dorms. Convenience only really comes into effect if you've got the money for it. With cost of living going up, even felt by the students and their student loans, which are through the roof as it is, many aren't going to be bothered by this ban in the slightest. You know that because only 1,472 people voted on it, when the university has 29,534 students. Back in 2019, when my Content Constable series was still relevant, I was going to do one on these 2 people. You can tell who they are just from the image alone. 10 points to your respective Haram Hogwarts house. If you don't know, it is the Slaton sisters. Now, I was going to do it because, well, they've kind of committed fraud, they've lied, they've embezzled, but they have over the years turned their lives around. And so I decided not to because I didn't think it would get many views. I'm still tempted to, but I don't think it would do that well. If you'd like to see it, 1,000 likes on this video, how about that? Amy Slaton and Tammy Slaton have, though, changed in rather interesting ways. For example, Amy Slaton did go on a weight loss journey. She did have a husband. I believe she even has children. It took a long time for her to get there though, and she did fantastic, to be honest. She's no longer with her husband and is now dating another man called Tony Rogers. Tammy took a little bit longer to catch up, but did catch up, and had been posting for a while a number of thirst trap videos on TikTok, which cracked me up. Amy does live streams and has been caught out doing a few rather silly things.
I grew up in Kentucky. Me and my boyfriend been together 8 months. I just kept him offline because, well, sometimes y'all can be downright rude. And I ain't gonna lie, before Michael and me got together, I had this boyfriend and I had so many hate comments towards him.
Generally, we all obey certain rules when it comes to children. For example, we don't smoke around. We don't do that. Amy, though, was doing it with the children on her lap, which many of us take issue with. I'm not going to put Amy on blast too much, but this could be considered a prelude for things to come, perhaps, if we get enough likes, because I will happily blast these people, happily, for your entertainment and for my amusement.
No matter if she's smoking in the house or not. Here's the thing, when the kids goes to their dad, everybody over there smokes.
And it's way worse than here, trust.
So, why y'all want to talk about somebody smoking a cigarette?
Their walls are supposed to be the color of my walls right there, but they so dark from nicotine that you can't even see the actual wall color.
The next subject I saw via Ranting Monkey, who had tweeted, of course, ... a retweet of New York Post. New York City law bans discrimination based on height and weight and it goes into effect. I have no idea how you prove height or weight discrimination unless the job explicitly wants somebody who is tall and skinny. How do you do this? But go figure, Americans with their rather erroneous and amusing lawsuits. The law adds these two categories to the list of characteristics that are now protected from housing, job, and public discrimination, alongside things like age, gender, race, religion, and sexual orientation. I don't know if height should be anywhere near that, or weight for that matter, unless there is a weight limit to certain things like lifts or scales. This all comes into effect 6 months after Eric Adams first signed the original legislation banning discrimination against certain types of people. Quote from New York City Council Speaker Adrian Adams and Councilman Sean Abro, all New Yorkers, regardless of their body shape or size, deserve to be protected from discrimination under the law. Body size discrimination affects millions of people every year, contributing to harmful disparities in medical treatment and outcomes, blocking people from access to opportunities in employment, housing, and public accommodations, and deepening existing injustices that people face. New York City is leading the nation with this groundbreaking anti-discrimination law. Actually, you've now created a caveat where you can now discriminate against somebody who is not one of these little areas. You didn't think that through either, did you? Firstly, I have no idea how you prove height discrimination. I really don't know how you prove it, short or tall. Weight is an interesting one when you then mention medical treatment. People who are bigger are a little bit harder to treat. Doctors know this because they're bloody experts. But go figure. Science denial in a progressive space. What a shocker. This is the kind of crap that amuses me to no end. And I'll be honest, this could have been a video on its own. It really could have been. But it's dumb enough to be in this video because this is where it belongs. You are virtue signaling to try and make it seem like you appeal to everyone. Science has shown that body type is not a connection to if you're healthy or unhealthy, said the mayor who authored a 2020 book about losing 35 pounds. Quote, I think that's a misnomer that we're really dispelling. You are right, body type is not a connection to if you're healthy or not. BMI is highly inaccurate. But those that are supporting you are of the more extreme variety, who are less than average height and weigh a good 100 pounds more than the average person. I will agree that size freedom should be championed. Legally protected, not so much. Because now you've given those who are super morbidly obese a platform to say they are marginalised and are recognised in New York City as being marginalised. Congratulations, you have set a precedent, and a dangerous one at that. Also, with no level of irony from a mayor who wrote a book on his weight loss journey. The last video I want to show you comes courtesy of Pearl Davis. Now, Pearl Davis is quite a polarising individual. A lot of the points she makes are correct, some are false. It's the way she delivers it that does not help. Doesn't help her in the slightest. Many will rebuke what she says by saying, how can you speak on relationships and how the dynamic of that relationship should work when you yourself are mid to late 20s and still single, when you simultaneously accuse people of being in a similar age range as being past it? I find that with certain videos, she does have a tendency to frame things intentionally, yet she still presents an argument that can be correct. I've intentionally spoken this way because I'm going to play a clip and I want you guys to tell me what you think. I'm trying to drive up engagement basically in videos. We're in the season of Moistmas now. Any engagement is good engagement, negative or positive.
Women don't really know what it's like to be in a man's shoes. And there's a lot of things that women are not willing to do in 2023. You know, women demand, I want to be equal to men, but don't want the price of equality that comes with it. For example, in relationships, you know, women want men to take up all the responsibility. They want them to pay for dates, plan them, do everything. But they won't give them any authority in terms of, oh, you can't tell me what to wear, you can't tell me what to do.
That, the first part of that, could have been correct had you not followed it up with a rather weird false equivalence. We don't live in a time now where we tell each other what we should or should not wear, unless you're already in a relationship, in which case, don't wear the really disgusting jumper. There's a lot more to this, and it's vitally important, and she carries on by talking about employment and how many women will not do the more physically demanding jobs, yet those jobs are available. It's a very important discussion to have, of course, when it comes to equality. The delivery mechanism is a tad peculiar. Thanks for listening, everyone. Do have yourselves a wonderful day.